Hello and thanks for dropping by here at manxradio.com for another My Tunes podcast.
Marc Tyley, the nation station, Manx Radio.
This week on My Tunes we are very much back to the music with a musician and a lovely fella who did a heck of a thing for hospice here on the Isle of Man, and you probably saw what he was up to. You may well have heard the single Fragile. Anyway, he is my guest here. We'll talk about that and loads more. Steve or Stephen Nash? You tell me.
We always go with Steve.
Go with Steve.
Go with Steve.
Okay, just saying. You don't want to get it wrong.
No, I think whenever I'm called Stephen, it's usually the old I'm in trouble.
Yes, get you on that. I'm looking through some windows here because we're in a studio where Maldune came up to play, and we reckon it's about 14 years ago or thereabouts.
I'd guess it's 2011. Couldn't be exact, but yeah.
Something like that.
We came up and we did an original. We did Ghost Cat. We did a cover of Billie Jean, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
And we had a right old natter for a bit.
It was amazing. Muldoon, what a band. I mean, right at the heart of Isle of Man music for how long?
We formed in 1994 at Ballacameen. There was four of us, myself, Denzel Smith, Darren Miller and Gary Smith. Then we dropped down to a three-piece about 95 and started gigging in 96 with our first gig at the Foresters Arms.
And you haven't stopped?
No, we haven't stopped. We've released a few albums along the way. We did a little mini UK tour. We're still going. We still do a gig every now and then just to keep... It's a chance to catch up with each other, have a beer, play a few songs.
And the army still turn out?
They still turn out. They're all getting a bit older now. They've all got 3 or 4 kids, and it's hard to drag them out of the houses, but there's still that core Doon army who come out and say hello. Well,
I'm delighted. And it's great to catch up with you again. To say it's been too long is an understatement.
It's been a few years.
It's been a few years. So, let's talk about solo work. When did you start working on things just on your own?
I guess in some respects I've always worked on stuff on my own, but it was always incorporated with the band because I'd sit down with Gaz and we'd work things out. We got to around about 2010 and I'd written a few songs that I didn't think were right personally for what Maldune were doing. And I had a discussion with Phil Reynolds of Small Bear Records in the office. And we had this whole discussion about an acoustic album. And that took us till 2016 to start doing anything about it.
How long was that?
6 years.
Good grief.
And I think that worked in our favour in a lot of ways because I really do think that the songs weren't strong enough back in 2010. So that's when World Outside My Window, which was my first solo album, that's when that was born. So, and everything from there, we've sat with Phil and various different people over the years now too who've been incorporated in the Steve Noshy Nash thing that we do.
Yeah. Well, go back to Ballacameen for me for a while, but you got Maldune together from school.
Yeah.
When did you first start playing?
Really, at school, maybe 12 or 13. There wasn't really much musicality within the family. It's just something I kind of fell into. Sports and music were the two things that I really loved. And growing up and hearing all the 70s, 80s rock that my dad used to play, that really got me, your ears kind of at 10 or 11, you're kind of picking things out that you really like. So I just kind of fell into it really with Gaz and Denzel and Darren, and as well as Paul Salisbury, Post-War Stories, and Ben, and we were all good friends at school. So...
Now, I reckon that quite a few of these tracks this week have come from that formative era with your dad's music choices. So let's have the first one straight away.
The first one, we're going to go with Uriah Heep and the Wizard.
Now, when did you first come across this?
I probably didn't understand the exact kind of what the song was about, or I didn't really understand it. It was when more I was 14, 15, and hearing back these old going through Dad's record collection, I was like, this is mental. This is absolutely brilliant. And Uriah Heep the Wizard is just a track that's always sat and I've always listened back to.
He was the wizard of 1,000 kings, and I chanced to meet him one night wandering. He told me tales and he drank my wine.
if you ever got to see Maldune, or still might get to see them because they haven't stopped, they're just sort of gaps between the gigs have been a bit longer than they used to be. You will know my MyTunes guest this week, Steve Nash, we established yesterday. Vital part of the band Maldune, great solo artist, and very much influenced by Dad's record collection, as we discovered yesterday, first of all, with Uriah Heep.
Yeah, Uriah Heep, an incredible band, but Dad's record collection was, even go back to Geordie, Brian Johnson before, the whole AC/DC thing, UFO, and, Thin Lizzy, the whole kind of late 70s Purple, the whole Purple Rainbow. There's an excellent album called Purple Rainbow, which shows the family tree of the two bands, if you like, and it's just an incredible album to listen to.
It's an amazing era, and as you say, people going with different bands and falling out with him and then going in with that one. It happened a lot. I want to just focus today on a brilliant project, the single Fragile that you put out for Hospice. Talk us through how that came about.
Very unplanned, very emotional, and very proud. My mother-in-law spent a little bit of time in hospice before, unfortunately, she passed, and I hadn't sort of experienced hospice before, and the care, it's incredible. The people at hospice are just, I can never really find the words. And we came away after, obviously, everything had happened, and I was just rehearsing, and I just started putting this little thing together, and I thought, do you know something? I really like this, and I think we can do something with it. So I gave Phil a call and said, look, I've got this idea. I've written this track called Fragile. Can we, in effect, stop what we're doing now, the next project we're working on, and can we do this? And what I want to do is release it as a single, and any money that comes in from it is going straight to hospice, which is, in effect, that's what happened. Mm-hmm. So we raised £550. So I'm really proud and happy that hospice have now got that money.
Well, it's a beautiful song, and I know, well, just before Christmas, I think Christy was down there with you, and you actually played it down there.
Down at hospice, yeah.
Yeah. And if people do want to still top up the pot, they can?
Well, they can just direct to hospice, because what I did was, we did it for a period of time.
Okay.
Because if we have little bits and bobs coming in January, February, it's hard to keep control of everything. So we did October the 31st to December the 31st. And the support was incredible. So, personally, thank you.
Well, brilliant work, and it's a great song.
Thank you.
And we obviously played it quite a lot on Manx Radio. We're still playing it, and we'll continue to do so.
Thank you very much, and I really appreciate the support from everybody at Manx Radio, who's been incredibly helpful and just very supportive.
Well, it's our pleasure. Now, I want to talk about this next album. We'll go on to the track in a moment, because I love this album, Bad Company Straight Shooter.
Yeah.
Was this in your dad's collection?
It was, and it was, oddly enough, it was the dice that kind of, when you're going through things, the dice kind of picked up to me, and listening to the album, and even now you listen back to the album, and for me it sounds as honest and as raw and it's a timeless classic, in my opinion, and I just think Bad Company are an incredible band.
And great writing throughout that whole album.
The lyrically, it's just incredible, and even just the little guitar licks, the little bass runs, are just incredible. For me, they were incredibly addictive.
Which track, though, are you going to go for?
Well, I've decided to go for Shooting Star.
Now, what's drawn you to that?
I think that the start of it and the story, it drew me in straight away, and I think lyrically it's just an incredible song.
Johnny was a schoolboy when he heard his first Beatles song. Love me do, I think it was, and from there it didn't take him long. Got himself a guitar, used to play every night. Now he's in a rock and roll outfit, and everything's alright. Don't you know? Johnny told his mama, hey mama, I'm going away. I'm gonna hit the big time, gonna be a big star someday. Yeah. Mama came to the door with a teardrop in her eye. Johnny said, don't cry, mama, smiled and waved goodbye. Don't you know? Yeah, yeah. and all the world will love you just as long as you are. Johnny made a record, went straight up to #1. Suddenly everyone loved to hear him sing a song. Watching the world go by, surprising it goes so fast. Johnny looked around him and said, well, I made the big time at last. Don't you know, don't you know, don't you know that you are a shooting star? Don't you know, whoa, yeah. Don't you know that you are a shooting star, yeah. And all the world will love you just as long as you are a shooting star. Don't you know that you are a shooting star? Don't you know? Don't you know that you are a shooting star now? And all the world will love you just as long as you are. Johnny died one night, died in his bed. Bottle of whiskey, sleeping tablets by his head. Johnny's life passed him by like a warm summer day. If you listen to the wind, you can still hear him play. Don't you know that you are a shooting star? Don't you know? Don't you know? Don't you know that you are a shooting star? Don't you know? Don't you know that you are a shooting star? Don't you know? Don't you know? Don't you know that you are a shooting
So far on My Tunes this week, we've been really in classic rock mode. We've had Uriah Heep, we've had Bad Company. Without giving anything away, we're going to take a left turn for today's choice from Steve Nash, my Tunes guest. Steve, thanks for doing this.
No, I appreciate it. It's it's a lifelong ambition. I've got to say, I listen most every day, pretty much.
We've had all sorts of people on here, you know.
Yeah, well, I hear them most days. Yeah.
But it's great to have you with us. Influences. Now, when you're a singer-songwriter of any description, there are people in your sort of sphere out there, and you think, I like that. That really works with me. Influences as you were growing up as a songwriter.
Oh, influences. I was very, very heavily into Guns N' Roses, Metallica, Iron Maiden. Very much stuck. That's who I kind of listen to. But even influences now, I listen from Buddy Holly, the Big Bopper, to really sort of heavy Rammstein kind of area. So I think I've always had an eclectic mix of music that I've listened to. So this will allude to the next track, I guess, when I say this. But two of my greatest heroes, I would say, are Ian Broody from the Lightning Seeds and Paul Heaton from very well Beautiful South, mainly known. And I just think they're two very, very clever, lyrically amazing, talented people.
We will talk a bit more about them in a moment. When you're playing, is it a case of building a song as a whole, or are you lyric-led or music-led?
Generally speaking, I'm lyric-led because it's just something I really enjoy. I write a lot of poetry as well. So really, I write lyrics and poetry, and then when I'm rehearsing, I'll just grab some of the lyrics out, and then we'll just see if we can figure something out. Every now and then you just get that random moment where you end up with something in about 30 minutes and you think, where did that come from? And there was actually a song called You're On My Mind that I wrote a few years back, 2018, I think. All we did was we sat at Phil's and we were like, we'll just put a demo down. 5 hours later, we were sat in the pub with a release single.
Whoa!
Which actually playlisted with Manx Radio as well. So that was a really kind of weird... It doesn't happen very often, but we just put the demo down and then we went, do you know what, let's just do the whole thing.
It's funny you say that because a lot of people I've talked to on this show, musicians, have said that some of their best songs come quick.
Yeah.
Really, really quickly.
Less time to think about it, I think. If you're working on something I find for 2 or 3 weeks or 2 or 3 days, you start picking little holes in it that don't exist and you're just going around in circles. So for it to just flow and come out almost instantaneously, I think they are the best because they're raw and they're natural. You're not having to think about it. And I love it when that happens. It's just a brilliant thing.
Are you one of these artists who says about their songs, it's never really finished? Certainly when you're in the studio, there's always more, but you have to say, right, that's enough.
That's why I love working with Phil, because he's the one that tells me that's enough. Go at the shop, go and get yourself a drink, come back, and then we've stopped. Because we're as bad as each other in some ways, but I do need somebody to tell me to stop because I have all these random ideas about, we could get this and we could get that. But
hey, third track then. You mentioned, you've sort of teased us it could go either way. What's it going to be?
Well, I've gone there with The Beautiful South in a little time, and it's one of my favourite tracks of all time. And we were given permission, myself and Sabina, on my last full album to do a cover version. Paul gave his blessing. I won't repeat what he said. I'll put it in a different way, as long as it's not as good as our version.
That's wonderful. Let's hear it right now.
I need a little time to think it over. I need a little space just on my own. I need a little time to find my freedom. I need a little...
Funny how quick the milk turns sour, isn't it? Isn't it? Your face has been looking like that for hours, hasn't it? Hasn't it? Promises, promises turn to dust. Wedding bells just turn to rust. Trust into mistrust.
I need a little room to find myself. I need a little space to work it out. I need a little room all alone. I
need a little room for your big head, don't you? Don't you? You need a little space for 1,000 beds, won't you? Won't you? Lips that promise, feel the worst. Tongue so sharp, the bubble bursts. Just into unjust.
little time to find the truth, and I've had a little room to check what's wrong. I've had a little time, and I still love you. I've had a little.
You had a little time and you had a little fun, didn't ya? Didn't ya? Well, you had yours, do you think I had none? Do ya? Do ya? The freedom that you wanted back is yours for good. I hope you're glad. Saddened to unsaid. I had a little time to think it over. Had a little room to work it out. I found a little courage to call it off. I've had a little time. I've had a little time. I've had a little time. I've had a little time.
On My Tunes, we get a rich mix. Well, we try to. And we have musicians, and sometimes we have politicians, sometimes we have artists, poets. But we've got a poet and a musician with us today. Steve Nash, a massive part of Maldune, an institution for the Isle of Man, Steve, I would suggest. Wonderful solo artist. And do you write poems aside from the lyrics?
I sit and I write a lot. When your mind's in a little bit of a pickle and you kind of, I find writing is my escape, if you like. And I will look at certain things and go, do you know, it's not going to be a song that. It's sat more in that poetry area where if I've written something and I can hear the melody starting in my own mind, then that goes in the song pile. So there's like a poetry pile and a song pile. I've thought about it for many years of putting a poetry book together. I might get around to it at some point, I might not, but...
It's a good next winter project to
Yeah.
have up your sleeve.
Yeah.
Have that one up your sleeve. You mentioned, probably just off air, about playing the bass as well as the guitar.
Yeah.
So in terms of music, guitar, bass, anything else we should throw in?
No, that's really... I play a little bit of keyboard, a little bit of piano, but that's just guesswork with ear. But I've been very lucky with everything that I've done. Chris Cole has played the cajon for us. Nice Lauren has played piano for us. I don't want to forget anybody here, but Sabina Jarjanbeck, who's done a lot of singing with me and will continue on the next project with us, which won't be a solo project, it'll be a Nash and Bean EP. And Phil, who's done some bass work and guitar work for us, and Heikki. I've been very lucky, and Gaz from Maldune's done a little bit with us as well on some of the songs. I've been very lucky to have some very good friends who are very, very talented and something I'm very, very thankful of.
Well, let's look forward to the next project. Tell us what it's all about.
The next project is it's going to be myself and Sabina. So this is going to be done in an EP fashion. We've got 3 songs written. We've got 2 songs we're working on. And we're hoping sort of towards the end of the year we're going to have a look at doing a release, maybe sort of September, October. It might be a bit later. It's just when we all get to sit down and actually put the work in. But Sabina and I rehearse quite a lot, so we're pretty ready to go.
Now, when you say an EP, I always, because I'm very old, think of the 7-inch EPs, which are 2 tracks on either side. So I sort of think EP is 4.
Yeah.
But I've known EPs go to 6.
Yeah, well, we've certainly we've got 3, maybe 5, but it's a long time till September, October, so it may end up as an album yet.
Yeah. And what about the physicality of music? Do you still think it's important to have a product that you can say, look, hold that, hold my CD, hold my 12-inch vinyl, hold, is it important?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I think the manner of the way music has gone with the Spotify element, a lot of musicians make a living. I'm lucky. This is just a side thing that I love doing. It's a hobby, and it's a hobby that I really enjoy. But I think the Spotifys of the world really hurt musicians. To be able to go into HMV and buy somebody's CD, to me that still means more than sitting and hitting a download button, because I own something. It's not just on a playlist. I have something physical.
And also, after a gig, people like to buy a CD. If they've enjoyed your gig, I'll buy one of those CDs on the way out.
Yeah.
And that's great for you.
And it is brilliant. I mean, I've been lucky enough, just a quick note before I forget, Rob and Pam from But First Promotions, who have been bringing the legends that are local, and that's given me a different audience to hear my music. And through that, people have done exactly, have you got any merch? Have you got any CDs? Yes, I have. And it's great. But if I haven't got any CDs, I'll look online tomorrow. Does anybody have a look tomorrow?
Too late.
it's done.
It's on the night. They've had a lovely time. They want to take that away with them.
Yeah.
Very much so. We are heading back to, well, actually, we're going over to the Americas for this, I do believe. Your final choice. One of the reasons I do this, meet lovely people and hear new music. It's a band I've not come across before, so tell me all about it.
It's Shinedown, a band that a very good friend, Joanne Lewis, introduced me to. They are very clever, I think, in the way they write. Lyrically, they are incredible in how they portray feelings about different things in life. And Joe and I have had this chat and about when your mind's not in the greatest of places. And, you know, I think Shinedown in certain songs portray how you feel in an incredible manner.
And the one you've chosen to finish off the week?
Is Shinedown, a symptom of being human.
Well, Steve, we'll play that in a second. Just thank you for the many, many years of Maldune madness, all your solo work, the work for hospice. You're a lovely fella. Keep it going.
Thank you. And thank you for having me.
Well, thanks for being here.
I can still remember me and Miss November rain, beautiful and strange, always so inclined, coloring outside the lines. Yeah, you were never on time. You've always been slightly awkward, kinda weird, upside down and not all here. What's wrong with me and you is crystal clear. Sometimes I'm in a room where I don't belong, and the house is on fire and there's no alarm, and the walls are melting too. How about you? I've never been the favorite, thought I've seen it all, till I got my invitation to the lunatic ball, and my friends are coming too. How about you? Don't worry, it's all just a symptom of being human. Unpack all your baggage, hide it in the attic where you hope it disappears. This all seems so familiar, but it doesn't feel like home. It's just another unknown. You've always been slightly awkward, kinda weird, upside down and not all here. Right or wrong, it's all so crystal clear. Sometimes I'm in a room where I don't belong, and the house is on fire and there's no alarm, and the walls are melting too. How about you? I've never been the favorite, thought I've seen it all, till I got my invitation to the lunatic ball, and my friends are coming too. How about you? Don't worry, it's all just a symptom of being human. Just passing through, passengers on a ship of fools. We're all just passing through, passengers on a ship of fools. Sometimes I'm in a room where I don't belong, and the house is on fire and there's no alarm, and the walls are melting too. How about you? I've never been the favorite, thought I've seen it all, till I got my invitation to the lunatic ball, and my friends are coming too. On a ship of fools. Don't worry, it's all just a symptom of being human.
Shinedown, great band, a symptom of being human. The final choice of my guest all this week on My Tunes, who has been Stephen Nash. And don't forget, new projects, new music coming soon from him. Thanks for dropping by. And don't forget, join me when you can for the Marc Tyley Morning Show, 9:30 to 12, Monday to Friday on Manx Radio.